in Germany, home of the LEC. We're 5 days into 2021 season, and G2 Esports have already lost Martin 4, 5, and 6 because they're building snowman. And I did try out. I actually wrote EU greater than an A in the snow like an absolute child, and it's such great. It's like still soft and puffy and powdery. You know, that's like before it crosses over into the drab.
And every time you walk over the snow, it's like that crunchy sound. It's so satisfying.
Oh, great. Good stuff.
I feel like there's no way you can't like regress a little bit back to childhood. Like on the one hand, I was like, I don't want to dirty my hands by picking up a snowball. But then I saw some kid chuck a snowball at his friend, and I was like, but God, do I want to have a snowball fight? It like brings out the child in you.
Yeah, it does. Welcome to the desk or the standing position, rather, Caedrel and Drakos.
The Euphoria duo.
The Euphoria duo. It's almost like, it's kind of like, this is advertisements for what people may expect also on Euphoria, you know, shenanigans.
Yeah. It's lit.
It's lit. Speaking about hitting snowballs, yesterday it was about hitting snowballs on the Rift, I guess. A continuation of dominance for G2 Esports and Rogue at the undisputed top of the league right now. And in fact, they're creating a bit of a rift between them and the rest of the teams already.
They absolutely are, and I think when you look at the way the Rogue has been doing it, outside of a few hiccups in that game yesterday, they have looked so clean and so incredibly dominant. Whereas G2 on the opposite side, it's the same G2 we know and love. They're trying picks out, they're incredibly scrappy, but when push comes to shove, they're always showing up in team fights and they're still winning out in the end.
I think it's hard to say what a great team is at the start of a year because the meta is so different, pre-season, all these things have changed. But you can tell when a team comes into the first couple of weeks and they can play so many different play styles, that no matter what the meta is, they're going to win, right? So they're not trying to figure out what they want to play, they're not trying to figure out what the meta is. They just play whatever and they win. So that's what determines a great team at the start of a year.
Yeah, they've shown a bunch of different things already, and they are meeting each other on the 13th of February. That's a Saturday, and that is week 4, and that will be a match of the week, I am sure of it. So we'll see if they can both stay undefeated until then. But yesterday, Rogue played Misfits, which was a highly anticipated matchup, and it turned out to be a very, very scrappy game. In the end, Rogue won.
And I think that just comes down to draft, right? Rogue drafts an early game jungle with scaling lanes with a winning top, and then Misfits just draft full team fight. So although Rogue did get lane advantages, they did have a really good gold lead, you could see the team fights were just so close. They came down to almost inches despite the gold deficit because Misfits drafted a full team fight comp, which I think was a really good advantage.
And again, another very positive showing for Misfits here. It feels like day after day when we expect them to, to lose out in what should be a Rogue favored matchup, they show up in a big way. You see in the B-roll there, the hook from Vander that connects when it mattered most. So a lot of really high individual moments coming in from the Misfits lineup.
And these fights are so close, Rogue get away with literally 10% HP on all their members. If Vetheo bursts the Baron here, maybe they get it, they can make a comeback and they scale better. So there was so many small inches in this game that you might not notice in terms of micro gameplay.
It really sucks for Vander also because he does make that almost game-winning hook, and then it doesn't work out, and then he's up versus his ex-team, and I'm sure he wanted to win very, very badly, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, unfortunately. I'm sure they'll get him next time. Two other teams I'd like to talk about is Sjokz and Fnatic, because it were teams that we were relatively high hopes for coming into the season, who didn't quite find their footing at the beginning of last week, but they each had strong wins yesterday.
Yeah, I think the first thing was Fnatic was just too over-aggressive, and Sjokz couldn't really find their footing in the meta. I love Schalke's draft. This is an absolute Exodia draft if you look at it compared to old ones. Camille Galio, global jungler, which is high prior top tier, and Kai'Sa Orianna to round it out. I think their drafts were amazing in this game, and I think that both of them have kind of found their weak points. Fnatic know they were too over-aggressive, they've toned it down, and Schalke's draft and their meta read is just so much better.
Yeah, and here Fnatic, we see that the aggression has been tempered, it has been changed, and now you've got Bwipo finding solo kills in lanes without giving anything up, and Selfmade putting on an absolute clinic in the jungle. So for both of these teams, it was a big step up yesterday. But I think for Fnatic especially, who essentially never gave Vitality a chance to play the game on even footing.
True, and well, for both teams, actually, they got such good drafts from the enemy team. You kind of wonder how it happens. Like, you're over one pick, and you're like, that happens. Then two, and you're like, all right, that happens. And you're like, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah, I feel like the red side, blue side, you can do whatever you want on either side. If you get these OPs like Olaf, Camille, Galio, Kai'Sa, Pantheon, there's so many broken champions, but if you can pair them well together, you get the best combination.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. Speaking about Olaf, we're also on a brand new patch this week, and since the teams clearly watched our Twisted Fate segment yesterday, we'll give them a hand with some other picks, and Olaf, just to reiterate it once again, what an absolute menace at every stage.
Yes, absolutely. And I think teams were baited into a false sense of security by the fact that this champion was hit in the healing department on this patch. The W obviously losing lifesteal as well as the healing amp overall. But what you can see here is his damage still looks very strong, and despite the healing nerfs, he still seems to be back to full health in the middle of every one of these fights.
And I think one of Olaf's biggest troubles in the last few years was, first of all, he had counter picks in the jungle like the Graves and Nidalee, so the old items were kind of difficult for him to scale, because if he fell behind behind early, then he'd struggle. And the second thing is the late game. Olaf in the late game always fell off. Everyone knew, oh, it's 30 minutes, Olaf's falling off. But now he doesn't fall off. Gore Drinker, Sterax, all these items help him scale so well. So in mid to late game fights, he's just as strong as he is in the early game.
What an absolute menace, and we especially see it being destructive in the hands of Polish junglers. I mean, name a more iconic duo than the Polish junglers we have here in the LEC.
Oh no.
And Olaf, oh my god.
Oh no, that's brutal. The fact that it's Chef Olaf too is just insult.
And then he just dances on the body itself, man.
And I think when you look at it, it's also crazy that these are the guys that we look at to probably be the 3 best junglers in the league.
Definitely.
You know, it's the father, the son, and the self-made man, the holy trinity of Polish junglers here. And the fact that they all got Olaf just shows that there was probably a lot to be adjusted from day one pick ban.
Yeah, I think if you give the top 3 junglers in the league Olaf all 3 games, of course they're going to win the game themselves. Like, Olaf is such a strong champion. In early game, mid game, late game, you can carry your team, you win early game fights, and I just think that this champ alongside TF needs to be banned on red side, or I don't know, you need to find some kind of counter, but I really don't think there is one.
Well, let's talk about a couple of different picks that we saw yesterday. Senna 4-1 changed, of course, on this patch. In the hands of Reckless, absolutely destructive, and we saw a different approach. It wasn't the fasting Senna anymore. Why is that? Because of the patch?
Yeah, well, the Kraken Slayer's changed now, so it actually procs off Senna's Q. She got an AD buff, she got an attack speed buff, she has a higher chance of getting her souls from the creeps dropping in the lane, so she scales better because she gets more RNG. And then the champion just synergizes so well with the new items, right? The Kraken Slayer first item into the Rage Blade. It's more of an attack speed Senna. We're used to lethality Senna, kind of doing big damage with first autos, and now it's more towards attack speed.
And I'm curious how much more innovation will come out for this pick, because it was not the fasting Senna, it was the farming Senna. But is there room with champions like Seraphine being played in the bot lane to allow the fasting Senna to happen and allowing a champion like Seraphine instead to get some of that farm?
We'll see. And speaking of Seraphine, where do we land here? We've seen it twice. Yesterday one in the hands of Trimby, right? And then we also saw it, I think it was Limit that played it earlier.
Yeah, he played it. It was, yeah.
But then it lost. Where do we land on the Seraphine?
Well, to me, Seraphine has 2 strengths. The first one is she wins lane, and the second one is she's really good in team fights with bruisers. The problem is, when you walk up and you have no front line, she's the first to die, she has not very good engage, and she has really 0 escape tools.
And I appreciate you starting on the positive, because you knew I was going to come in hard. Because
Yeah,
I
I
have
have
not been
to start with
quiet
positive.
about how I feel about this champion. I understand what she brings. I understand that she is strong. But in EU, we have so many fantastic playmaking supports. And the second you put them on a range support, you are putting them on a leash. And even though the theoretical highs are there, this wombo combo, yes, oh god, it was so close to being perfect. I just feel like the risk that you take by picking this, the risk that you take by not opting for an engaged support is not worth it. And that is pretty much my reaction when any team tells me they're going to win with Seraphine on their team.
Well, the champion itself is strong. I'm going to add a little bit more positives to it. It's good in the late game if you're scaled. But the problem is if you're a Trimby and you're 0-5 and the enemy team has a Malphite or they have an Olaf and they just run you down and one-shot you, then the champ is useless, I have to say. So it has to be picked in a niche ways, or you have to flex it between AD and support to make sure it's actually useful.
That's the way we see it, like niche, but still in other regions, 4-2 for instance in the LCS, 2-0 in the LPL. So let's see. Now, if you can't get enough of this Caedrel and Drakos combo, don't you worry. You can watch the Euphoria podcast.
It's about fish.
It's about fish. I can't. With a new episode every Wednesday. And this week, they were joined by Elioya and Chocolate.
In our podcast.
In the past, in years past, before I think we had the ERLs, before like, because you talked about having a lot of the support structure on AGO Rogue, that like didn't exist back in the day. You were either like having a sports psychologist, having like any kind of structure around you when you were in Challenger Series was like basically unimaginable. So it's crazy to me to have you come in as a rookie and be like reserved, have good answers, be prepared for this kind of things. Because it used to be back in the day, you either came in and you flamed everybody, right? Or you came in and you said nothing. Or you said literally nothing in interviews, you just didn't do interviews, right? And I feel like you've hit this middle ground that's really cool. But I'm curious, like when you first got started as a pro, did you, like, what were your expectations then? Were you the kind of guy that was like, I'm going to beat everybody? Were you the kind of guy that was just like really happy just to be playing League of Legends? So I guess, is this a new thing? This like reserved, very team focused, I want to improve day by day kind of thing? Or is this how you've always been as a player?
I think I was really clueless when I started playing pro. I was thinking like mid lane is 1v1, you know, but then like
and then against G2 we figured it out.
Yeah, they remind me that mid lane is not 1v1. Yeah, but like when I started playing in Spain, my first split, I was like not communicating at all, and I was just playing 1v1, and I hoped I would just kill an enemy mid laner. It happened a few times, you know, but but usually I was just dying to ganks, and at some point, like I was considered as a bad player, you know. So I needed to work on my other stuff. When doing Divine Words, I realized like how important is like team play, I would say, and then I kind of changed, I think.
Lovely to hear from Chocolat there. Found his way on Excel, and this offseason was complete chaos indeed. A lot of players finding new lineups, and we want to hear from you at home. We know, wow, how long have I been doing this job? I don't know which camera to look at. I don't know what's going on today. I'm sorry, but listen, I'm going to give you some power, chats, and I know you love that. So we're going to talk about the best signings of the offseason, and based on the games so far, you can tell us who you think has made the best signing. You can spam G2 for Reckless, MSF for Misfits for Hear It, RGE Rogue for Odoamne, or RGE rather, and Mad MAD for Elyoya in chat. It's down here as well because that wasn't too clear for me. First off, Hear It on Misfits. What a surprise, and what a great player so far.
And maybe if you've watched every minute of the LEC so far, you're not surprised, because I think all of us have gotten a turn to talk about how good Hear It is. But it is truly impressive to see a player come onto the stage like this in a split with a brand new team and to play this well. And especially when our league has all but given up on importing Korean players, to see a Korean player come on stage, immediately hit the ground running, to play well with his team, to perform so incredibly well, I think is just a fantastic sight to see.
Yeah, I think it may be a tougher one for the people in chat to vote for immediately because they might not know him that well yet. But honestly, if you've just watched every single game or even a few games so far out of the Misfits, this guy's been, for me, one of the biggest surprises so far. So if you think Hear It was one of the best imports, spam MSF in chat. Next up, Odoamne. Odoamne, of course, on to Rogue now and really transforming that lineup and helping that lineup grow even further.
Definitely. I felt like Rogue was just missing a final piece in the puzzle for the full picture, and I think Odoamne filled that piece so well. I think Finn had a lot of weaknesses that kind of affected the rest of the roster, either whether it was picking strong side champs for him and then they struggled. But now Odoamne being flexible, he can play carries, tanks, he can play split push, team fight, anything. We've seen it already. We've seen Ken and Aatrox, Renekton, all these different champs. So I think with Odoamne, not only is the weak side king and has insane stats, I think he just fits Rogue so well as a player.
Hey, could we get, there it is. They've just read my mind. Fantastic. Oh, okay, this way we can see who we need to make a case for.
All right.
86%
Okay.
G2. All right, so make a bigger case for Odoamne. Come on.
Pepe laugh.
All right, guys, here's the question is, who got the biggest upgrade? Because right now you're just like, who do I love the most / who is the best player?
Yeah.
And on this list, it's probably Reckless. He's got the most achievements, and I understand that. But who's the biggest upgrade? When you look at Rogue from last year, this year, when you set expectations for them, what do you actually expect? Because I think that Odoamne on this list, as much as I love Hear It, is probably the biggest on paper upgrade.
Yeah.
Rogue last year really struggled with Finn. And no hate to Finn, but Odoamne is a big upgrade and should be not just a neutral point for this team, but a very big, strong point. And that said, you don't care. And I understand, because Reckless, he's handsome, he plays good, and he's been continuing to play good. I tried. Caedrel, you got anything else? You versus Reckless.
No, G2's going to win. There's nothing we can do. G2 won, but Odoamne is the best addition, I think. I have to agree.
Am I like inting or
The
81?
colors?
81 plus 6 is 87 plus 9, plus 10 is 97.
That's
Cut the tape. That doesn't add up to 100.
It
It doesn't add up to 100.
Wait, I legit think there's 1% missing. Doesn't matter. Stop the count.
It's 98. We're at 98%. Hold, chat. Hold.
Wait, that's not supposed to, it's supposed to be 100.
Wait, it's fine.
Okay,
It's fine. It's
never mind.
Anyway, the other guy on this list that I think won't get the
Reckless.
appreciation, Reckless is going to get the appreciation. Reckless has looked fantastic, but I think we should talk about Elyoya too, because he's going under the radar, because he's not the guy that's going to have the same immediate hit the ground running stats that Reckless does, as you see behind me. Because the stats for Reckless, again, they're
pretty nice.
fantastic.
They're
It's
pretty
totally
nice.
fine if people want to vote for him. That's reasonable. But Elyoya, on the other hand, is a guy that I think that we have to praise and give attention to, because he has done very well for this lineup. He played the Ivern yesterday, and frankly, I'm excited to see how he develops, even if he isn't as immediately as impactful as names like Reckless and Odoamne.
And in a way, he has big shoes to fill, right? Shadow was one of the best performing junglers in Summer Split last year. They did finish second, and I think Elyoya to me just stands out in the reason because he's very self-critical. We had him on a Euphoria. He sounds very motivated and driven, and he's very realistic with his expectations and how he's performing.
I think that's a great point, and we may often overlook because of Shadow's kind of end of season performance and Worlds performance, but he was so incredibly good, especially as a catalyst for the early game for that team for the entire season. So the fact that Elyoya is there, he does have to step into big footsteps, but we can't, it doesn't
look,
change.
he was at 1% and now he's at 2%. Caedrel, if you had gotten 3% more there, Excel could have made playoffs, buddy. Just a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, Rogue did go
Why
up
do
a
you
lot.
blame me for this? No, I have to get brought into this too.
Rogue did make up some ground, so they are maybe...
But why is the yellow bar bigger than the white?
I have no
we don't
idea
know.
what's
Look,
going
don't
on.
look at the
This is why I
bar.
don't look at the bar.
Look at the numbers that are also maybe, I don't know what you should look at, but we've clearly Reckless has won.
Yeah,
that's,
and
I guess,
if you
what's
thought
important.
this was the comedic segment of the day, you're wrong. But I feel like we're just all loosey-goosey.
Here I get
today.
made fun of again, don't I?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, lovely.
So, from success stories to the other end of the scale, as we highlight the moments that definitely led to some question mark pings. First up, it hasn't been all smooth sailing for Mad's new Spanish jungler.
There's even a teleport being committed
Okay.
here. Minion wave is slowly starting to be chipped away. 3 minions left for the Astralis top laner. Gold card, the Javelin misses!
Spear!
The Javelin misses a stunned target.
You hate to see it.
I hate to see it. I mean, he was very sad about that.
Yeah.
He was.
He was.
Yeah, he was really self-critical. You know, he was on EU4, he said, oh, I missed a spear, I played so bad. Mate, the rest of the game you played perfectly. You just missed one spear. It was a stun target.
Compare that to Sjokz, who never hits a spear and is like, whatever.
Or Lee Sin Q,
fine.
or
Yeah.
Sejuani ult.
I think when you win a
Really.
trophy, you're
Dragos.
like, I'll take the trophy over the spear connecting,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah. Oh, the segment is called KW, apparently. Okay, next, a golden moment from
Yes.
Caedrel's days
Oh,
in the
here we
mid
go.
lane.
Oh no, please, no. Oh no.
1-1 in the tower is a dragon advantage as well. Ready to take a fight. Flash over. How do you... Just canceled. Wait. That was Caedrel just canceled it.
First day on stage. So that's maybe... That could
Remember
make
that
up.
I was casting that. That's so funny. I don't even remember whether. I'm so confused. Why do we have to show that? Come on, guys. That's probably the
Since
worst
we won't
blunder
get the
I've ever done.
slow-mo, just a recap. He flashed over the wall to ult Ezreal and then immediately canceled his own ultimate by right-clicking.
Yeah, I think I flashed over and ulted, and then I right-clicked, and then I was mind blown. I pressed tab. Does he have QSS? Right, games, guys. Can we, hey,
Pause.
chrono break.
Gonna break this. Good stuff. I mean, you didn't know then
Love it how
that he was
that's
going to
next
be
to
a
me.
colleague in the future.
No, or that he'd be a jungler, but I can see why you'd switch to
Yeah.
jungle after that one.
It's
Okay. Okay.
it's fine.
Okay.
Caedrel, this is your chance to laugh at Drakos because he isn't off the hook either.
Well, he's single-handedly forcing H2K back while Benny cuts through the towers. They need to find a fight, but hope is going down. Oh no, H2K have fallen at the hands of the Flash Wolves, and they move into the finals to face G2.
What a call. Oh no.
Oh no.
Okay, in my defense,
HJK have fallen.
as great as a win as that was from Flash Wolves, we were in Katowice, and the Polish crowd loves Jankos. So he did anything. He placed a ward and people popped off. And I'm a sucker for that kind of energy.
Yeah.
So I was like, people say like casters are biased. Mostly I think you're wrong. That was a biased cast for me. Because Flash Wolves did anything, I was like, good job, Flash Wolves. Jankos did anything, and I was like, let's go, Katowice! Jankos forever! Not a great
I mean,
moment.
the upside was you could go to bed and know that you would never cast as bad in a semifinal again. So I guess that was good.
did he?
Finally, let's check out the highlights from Perks' debut in the LCS. I'm so sorry.
It's fine, I earned it.
Yeah, the debut wasn't great.
No,
Not
so
bad.
was it? So let's see. Oh,
Ooh.
oops. Well,
Yeah.
it was.
But he did
because
reverse.
tweeted
He did
before.
reverse sweep last night, though.
He did.
He did.
did.
Which is, I think, why we can play this clip without feeling
Yeah.
like we're bullying him.
0-2 down was his comfort
But-
zone.
Yeah.
You gotta love, if you're a Perks fan, the like emotional roller coaster that was watching Perks lock in Yone, who is like pretty universally considered to just be this absolute monster, and then to kind of just watch him get bullied / run it for his first game. Ugh, rough start.
Yeah, very rough stuff. Also, the tweet before, I'm gonna go death in the entire lock-in tournament.
Did he get 7 deaths in that?
That's a jinx if you did. But, you know, all good vibes. We're really happy that Perks and C9, spoiler alert, I guess, did something last night. And, I mean, we can say it.
It's fine. If you
Yeah.
missed it, you missed it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly.
Spoiler
Good stuff. Well, it was really cool walking down memory lane with all those impressive moments from our team and from our teams. Next up, some
And Drakos.
truly fantastic gameplay. Hopefully, our Alienware match of the week is building up to a gigantic brawl as Mad Lions and Fnatic try to reignite the fire from 2020.
top lane, trying to do the 2-1, they just rips them to shreds! Absolutely mauled by the Gore Drinker! Definitely looking really strong, so they're now just going to mow through the entire Mad Lions lineup. 28 kills to 9, and Misfits take any hope Mad Lions had.
So far, the start of the season is a bit of a bad dream for Fnatic.
All the roster we had, losing was something unacceptable, but right now I feel like even if we lose, we always try to find solutions and not to think that it's the end of the world.
Self-mid, now another one kicking off the mid lane. Gillia's running through the hills. Oh, he's just buying time.
Oh, he mistimed it! Oh, he stands still. He knew he mistimed it.
Oh, there it is.
He timed it right this time.
This time he got it.
The atmosphere that brings Upset and Niski is something that I missed very much since my Unicorns of Love days.
Just be careful, it's a DPS check up against that Olaf. And I don't know if he wins this one, but it looks like he just might. The double dash out to save it. Humanoid leaping forward, looking to get one. That's the double kill coming in for Elyoya and the Dragon to follow.
I think I am my biggest obstacle, like my mental. If I can get over it, if I train harder than the others, I'm gonna beat them.
To be the best, you for sure need talent and you need to have the motivation to never give up.
Left alone without the rest of the team, Astralis are running in the killer instinct from Causey! The double kill! Continues to chase down White Knight. That's the triple!
This year is gonna be one of the best chances that I've had to get on top. I had to do it in NA first, but no, I want to do it in Europe as well. So.
Cloud9 waited 6 years, and they will hoist the trophy again.
When I left back in 2018, I think it was, I was a top 3 mid.
Niski potentially now in front of the landing. Oh, flashes in the middle of the team, now looking to fire back to Tom Kent's there to save the day. Niski. Oh, but he gets one.
Oh my God! 1 versus 5, and Niski gets 2 kills.
But no, I think I can be on the top with Caps. I think with Fnatic we can be a top team, and I will make sure that I'll be a top millionaire as well.
Fnatic is definitely weaker because Reckless was such a huge part in their success. I think over time, I think they will be good, but probably not better than before.
Elyoya coming in is gonna shake up the question of does Kaiser have to activate the team, or can Elyoya put Mad in a situation where they don't have to rely on Kaiser? I mean, there is always the doubt of not doing good, and that's something that obviously I think scares me, kind of scares all players. But yeah, once you believe yourself and what you're capable of, I think that you can beat and win.
Mad Lions ace Astralis, almost with the triple kill.
That's the S-style rank. Spin, Inferno trigger.
Ooh, fantastic match of the week video once again. Both teams coming off wins yesterday, Mad Lions and Fnatic. And as you said before, Elyoya taking everything very seriously and seems so incredibly focused. You love to see that in these new players coming onto the Rift and coming onto the LEC.
I mean, you definitely do. And when you look at the context of the matchup yesterday where he had a fantastic game on Ivern, and now he has to go toe-to-toe with Selfmade, who almost single-handedly won Fnatic the game. This is a huge trial by fire for a new player that I'm frankly just thrilled to watch.
Exactly. And from the new players to the more experienced players then in the bot lane, you know, Carzzy and Kaiser up versus Upset and Hylissang, that is going to be one to watch.
That's super hype because Fnatic's so bloody, but the Mad Lions bot lane were getting so many 2v2 kills. Yesterday, you saw there's so many kills, even though XL went to the engage, Mad Lions was already ready to fight. And if you pair this duo up against Hylissang, that's just a recipe for disaster. I'm sure there's going to be so many 2v2 kills in this bot matchup.
Going to be great. That will be our last game of the day, our match of the week. But as said, day 2 and a lot of bangers. And hopefully a good one to close out the week, because otherwise you kind of end on a false note, you know, if you hyped up your match of the week and it's kind of whatever.
Until proven otherwise, I'm gonna believe that this is a banger, and it is such a fantastic way to end the week. And if you're not as big of a fan of this one, you're gonna watch Sjokz versus G2, which should also be very hype.
Yeah, I think obviously we saw it the last couple of weeks. Fnatic is a bloodbath team. Mad Lions is individually a bloodbath team as well. So when the two crash, you've got a ball of fire versus multiple catapults firing at you. It's gonna be a complete, it's gonna be a bloodbath.
Okay, maybe a bit of a different story in our opening game, XL versus Astralis. And before we take a look at that one, let's get to know one of the new players to the LEC, Astralis' jungler, Zanzara.
Yeah, guys, just be fans of me, boys. Like, just best jungler here, of course. at least from Astralis, the new picks, surprise picks. Meta is for loser, guys. Everyone can play meta, but of meta champions, this is my key to victory, guys. And if you want to see and follow these new rules in jungle, I'm your best player. I'm playing for 8 years already, and I don't really care who I'm playing against. I was playing competitive before some of the players even start playing League of Legends, so I don't really care, guys, what you think. I'm just playing League of Legends.
Meta is for losers, guys.
I love him so much.
Wow! I had never seen that. That's so good. I've been playing for these guys. I even started playing League of Legends. Meta's for losers. I don't care who I play against.
I'm the best jungler.
Yeah.
I love it.
I mean, let's see. So he's up versus Dan here, two players that finally get their chance in the LEC. So if meta is for losers, what are we going to see out of this guy today?
To be fair, Dan was playing Udyr before anyone else in the league was playing Udyr. So maybe this is just the battle of meta is for losers. And it's just like the wacky pick arms race in the jungle today. But for Dan, I'm excited to see also what he can do. His story isn't quite as exciting as Zanzara because he didn't have the chance to go to Worlds. But this is still a guy that's been on the cusp for so long and certainly has a similar opportunity to prove himself if he can start getting those wins under his belt.
Yeah, I think Dan and Zanzara are both similar in the way they played quite long. You know, Dan was playing in Season 5, Mouse Esports in the Challenger Series and things like this. And Dan was with Youngbuck on Fnatic in that year, for that year when he was subbing in for Broxa here and there. He went on a couple of games on stage when he subbed in for Broxa at Rift Rivals a few times, I remember. So obviously, Youngbuck knows Dan really well. He knows his playstyle. That's why he picked him up for this team. And I think these two junglers just are similar in so many ways. Not only is it meta, but in terms of their career history.
What about playstyle? We know that Zanzara is the kind of player who will, maybe not meta, but he'll play something that can support the team tank-wise, help out his lanes, soak up all the damage in the team fights. Is that similarly for Dan in the structure of XL?
Yeah, I think that they're both similar in the way that they want to get their team ahead. I don't look at these two players as like someone who's going to carry the game like Inspired, like 1v9 solo. I think they're going to set up their team, get their team gold leads. And I think that Dan's been quite quiet these last couple of games. You know, he had that game against G2 on Udyr where he did get some neutral objectives, but he wasn't so loud as to the point you're like, oh, Dan's popping off or anything like this. I think both junglers are in that kind of category of junglers. I think they're going to try and focus on getting their carries ahead.
Yeah, but question, in a meta where everything can be so influenced by junglers and junglers can, in fact, carry their teams on their backs, would it not be better to maybe get a shift there? But if that's against your nature, but I guess if you're in a competitive spirit, changing is part of the game.
I mean, it's always a difficult call this early in the season, whether or not you're trying to like aim for the stars and really try to play League of Legends.
Well, Astralis, we know that.
Yes. There we go. To the moon. There you go. On point. And if you're going to try to play a style that's maybe more immediately difficult, but in the long term will reap greater rewards, or if you just want to get wins on the board. Because while I do think that junglers playing selfishly is the best way to play the game right now, I mean, Udyr looked pretty solid. Tank junglers, like, I don't want to see a Sejuani, but I would love to see more ganks for lanes to get your laners ahead if that's the easiest way for you to come out on top.
And that's the thing, jungle is, if not the second most diverse role alongside mid lane. So I think that's why mid jungle is a huge key for these teams, especially in the early stages of the season. If you have a really strong mid jungle duo who have found synergy not only as players but with champion pools, I think if those two can synergize really well together, you can pick up lots of early wins as the season progresses, because teams are either too scared to make plays happen, and if you're really willing to go for it, then you can easily pick up these wins. But XL, we saw them in their last couple of games, are actually starting to make progress in what they want to do. Graves, Syndra, a really good mid jungle duo. The last week you saw them with the Camille popping off as well. So I want to see more of this action style play style they're making, and not so much defensive, supportive top laners and things like this.
Yeah, and a final note on the jungle matchup as well. I think that we've seen from both these players really solid starts to the game. The Udyr game that you brought up, Dan, massive CS lead, some neutral objectives, wasn't able to transition into a super solid late game. Similar from Zanzara. He had some excellent starts his first game on stage in the Nidalee, looked really good from a very smart, very intelligent path. And the question is, for both these guys, can they do more mid to late game to cement those early advantages?
Yeah, and I think the key here is scaling. You need to get scaling. I think both these teams are struggling a little bit to the point where I'm not sure if they're going to be able to close out an early gold lead. But I think scaling is the key.
All right, let's see what happens. Time for more epic action in the LEC as Week 2 continues with XL versus Astralis.